Nerd Hatters. I am so excited to be with y'all here, bring this discussion to the Nerd Hat podcast. I am sitting here with TJ Sandella, the writer and co-director of the feature film Battersea, with Jad Adkins, a writer and producer, and with Jesse Howland, one of the lead actors, along with Nancy Kimball, who is not here. I thought about trying to pull her in, but maybe for a future date.
She's a hard one to pin down. That Nancy.
Once you get to 4 people in an interview, it gets tough on the technical side. So I figured this would be good for today's. Thank you all so much for sitting down and agreeing to this interview with the Nerd Hat podcast. TJ and Jesse, it was nice to meet you all in person. Jad, I'm sorry I saw you from across the room, but I didn't get a chance to meet you that night at Marketplace Cinema. So really enjoyed your film. Told you, TJ, I got to see it with my sister, and that just added an extra layer of meaning to it. We had actually both recently lost our father, I think, that I shared with you, TJ. So it was just particularly poignant for us and just excellent film. I think even if that had not happened, though, I think it still would have been just extremely meaningful. Really enjoyed it. I'm just really excited to be able to talk to the three of you about it today.
Us too, man. Did you guys fight the whole way home?
No, my family, we're kind of one of those families where things just boil under the surface for a long time and eventually come out.
Much healthier.
Yeah, so much healthier. I guess that kind of ties into the film too, although we won't talk too much about that. But there's one of those kind of scenes, Jesse, that you did a really good job with, I thought.
Thank you, sir.
But yeah, that felt familiar. Well, I thought we would jump in a little bit to the backstory, and I just wanted to ask all of you in turn and give you a chance to share what brought you here to this point in time where we're discussing your feature film. Like, what's your origin story? TG, I thought I'd start with you, and then we'll go with Jad and Jesse.
Yeah, well, it's been a 10-year. I mean, we say 10 years, but now we've been saying 10 years for like the past 3 years. So it's been, I mean, the better part of Jad and I's like adult lives. Jad and I met in grad school in a creative writing program. And shortly after we graduated, we were just kind of like burnt out on our own writing projects and wanted to pivot to something else, something fresh. And we had this idea to start working on a screenplay, and it just kind of started as like a fun exercise. He lives in North Carolina, I live in Ohio, so we were like, let's go. He had a family friend that has a cabin in West Virginia, so we're like, we're gonna go to West Virginia for the week. Is West Virginia? Yeah, Jad, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in West Virginia. So we go to this cabin for a weekend. We get there, there's no power, so we're like freezing in this cabin. No, we had power. We had no running water.
Well, it turns out there was just like a switch on the wall that we had to hit that we didn't.
Yeah, we spent the weekend like digging holes outside.
Yeah,
burying toilet paper. So anyway, so we spent this weekend in West Virginia, and there's this little 18-inch TV. And when we got burnt out on trying to write some stuff, we ended up watching Before Midnight.
Yeah, we found a red box that like the.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, red box.
They're still around, I think.
Are they?
There's actually one of my closest grocery store.
Yeah, they're like.
Oh, they're nice. Well, they haven't completely died.
They're like payphones now. So anyway, so we fired that up, and we, just drink a lot, and we ended up kind of watching that movie, and especially the last scene, we just kept like hitting rewind and watching it over and over again. So, Jad and I we kind of discovered this in grad school, that we had a lot of similar life experiences being from Appalachia in the Midwest in the Rust Belt, and, similar experiences with our family. So that kind of informed it. So, we start writing the script very slowly. We had never written a script before. So, I mean, the first drafts were like very, very, very bad. And a handful of times we deleted the entire thing and started from page one just to kind of reset the mechanism. Yeah, I mean, it was basically 10 years just on the script until we kind of got it to a place and had worked so hard on it that we were happy with it. And then it was just, the long saga of having never made a film before, like figuring out how to do that, recruiting crew, figuring out all the business ends of setting up a film. Chad, you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think partly why it took us so long to write it is because it was so hard to commit to that part of filmmaking, which, we were very comfortable like toiling in our little rooms, like writing, but the thought of like pushing it out in the world was very scary, and we weren't sure how we were going to do it, and we did it the wrong way many times. It's like how many different times did we like kind of creep up to the edge of actually trying to make it? And if we had gone through with it, like this film would have been so bad, it would have been like with the bad version of the script with like a crew that wasn't right. And I think it just would have it just would have tanked. So we kind of got lucky in some ways. Like we got like a big COVID sort of like waylaid us, and we had to really rethink everything. And so we hit delete and like just sort of had to rebuild it piece by piece. And it turned out that when we started to do it after in like 2022, I think we had enough belief in the script at that point that it really upped our standards for like what we were looking for in terms of crew and cast and stuff. So we took a long time trying to find the right DP. And then once we found the right DP, which I think was at the Q&A, he really helped us unlock a lot of the other things.
Mm.
And, you know, finding Nancy was a huge get. And then Nancy was so good that we were like, we gotta match this level. And like Jesse comes along and he was perfect. And suddenly we found ourselves with like a film that like was like way, like we were punching way above our weight. That's how it felt anyway in the moment. So yeah, so then like, you know, we find ourselves on set and we're just sort of like in a daze the whole time because it's so much better and bigger than we thought it could be.
Well, how did you may have mentioned this a little bit, TJ? How did the two of you meet originally?
Oh yeah, we met in grad school, in a grad writing program, just MFA. TJ was in the poetry track, and I was in the creative nonfiction.
Okay.
And we were just sort of like people kind of find each other, and it was a small program anyway. We sort of just a lot of late nights watching movies, and I don't know. That was way before we even had like an inkling of an idea that we wanted to try to write one. But it made sense. One thing TJ didn't mention was like I think I'm pretty sure this is true, but I had a dream like once we graduated, I was sort of like spiraling, didn't really know what to do. I had a dream about shooting a movie at my grandparents' house, and it was like I can remember that it was like, you know, it's classic nonsense, but I woke up like really inspired, and like TJ was just like the natural person to call. And so that was sort of the germ of the idea that eventually led to, we were going to shoot it at my grandparents' house for a long time. Actually, they have this big weird house in West Virginia, but it was never quite feasible. It was never going to work. So
I couldn't help but think of, have you all seen Evil Dead by Sam Raimi?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't help but think of that. I was like, that would actually make an interesting horror movie. Two guys trying to write a script in an abandoned cabin, and then hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
That's pretty good, actually.
You know, if you just change the music a little bit, and you watch the first 15 minutes of our movie, and like it's.
Oh, there you go. It could turn dark. Well,
yeah, you could edit it in a different way. A lot scarier.
Looks gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah,
Rich, I don't know if you know, that was my first time seeing the film.
Oh, nice! I did not know
very,
that.
very pleasantly, not surprised, because it felt good while we were doing it.
Like, I know this is going to be shit, but
I was like, no, this is all right, because I knew it felt strong while we were working on it, and definitely it felt strong working with Nancy, and the relationship we were able to build for it. And the script obviously was lovely, which is why I attached myself to it as quickly as they would allow me. But yeah, as soon as I saw it the first time, I was like, "Ooh, this is a movie."
Yeah, it's got to be weird for you, Jesse, because it's been like 2 years now. But like you really do. I mean, you walk away from, like Jad said, it's delirious. You walk away from those 13 days, and you're like, do we have it? Is it in there?
Yeah.
And then you spend, I mean, we were in post for, just to put a bow on the whole journey, I mean, we were in post for like 8 months, almost a year. Just, you know, we're just like psycho perfectionists and drove our editor and mixer crazy.
Love that.
But I think we squeezed every bit of juice out of what we got in 13 days. So
yeah. And we didn't have a lot of stuff to play with. That's props to our editor Logan Tabor, who helped us solve a lot of problems that at the time felt unfixable.
Can y'all hear me at all?
We can hear you.
We can hear you, Jesse.
Your
video paused there for a minute.
It said we can't exit. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
It said device struggling to record, but I guess it's better now.
Yeah, the one of the things about Riverside is I think you can pause this, but you'll see in your browser where it says uploading. It's like as we're recording, it's also uploading each person's individual audio and video to the cloud. And when we finish the session, you know, if it's not already complete, it'll continue uploading. So that is one thing we'll need to do at the end, is let it finish uploading on each person's device. And then I'll be able to download the individual tracks. And yeah, it's really cool. It's one of the things I love about this versus Zoom. Zoom, you just get what you get.
Yeah,
pretty much. But coming back around to you, Jesse, I remember you saying in the Q&A there at Marketplace that you found this through Backstage. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Backstage.com. I went to an acting school out here in Los Angeles when I first moved here. I moved here at the age of 17. I graduated from that school in 2016. And from there, I just hit the ground running, trying to get myself into as many films, short films, like whatever. A lot of them was like unpaid or like, like really, really like low pay. And Backstage was an incredibly valuable resource for doing that, as well as Actors Access and casting networks and all that good stuff. But Backstage especially, I felt was great for finding projects that were from people who haven't done a film before or like have like a lot of like money behind them, but are passionate and have something to say and have a script that they're ready to shoot, but not exactly sure how to go about it or whatever. And so I was able to get myself into some things that I liked, and I continue to use Backstage. And actually, whenever I submitted to this, I wasn't really using Backstage as much anymore. I was like getting to like bigger things and just using Actors Access. But boy, am I glad that I used Backstage and was able to see that.
It's kind of like, hey, why don't I check this? And you found this amazing script.
Yeah, I still check it every now and again just to see. It's gotten a little weird lately, to be honest with you.
What's going on at Backstage?
I don't know, bro. Have you been to Actors Access? I don't want to. We can cut this out. Well, 'cause I don't want them to get mad at me. But like, it's like softcore TikTok porn now. like just vertical shorts about like Alpha's best mate and just weird stuff.
Starring
man.
Jesse Howland.
Anyway, starring Jesse Howland.
There you go. Well, Jesse, I saw that you were originally from North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
Did you ever take a look at the UNCSA when you were trying to decide where to go to train?
Yeah, definitely. We can cut this out too if we want.
You're gonna be left with like 10 seconds.
All of my stuff's gonna be cut out. I'm just gonna be talking shit about everybody. Yeah, I submitted. I tried to get into UNCSA. I tried to get into UNCSA twice. They had a high school senior program, and then I tried to get into it for college. But the high school senior program was selective because I believe if you graduate like from that year, you might be like guaranteed a spot in in the university. And so it's like the high school thing is like a class of like, I don't know, like 8. Wow. And the college itself, I think, is like they're like classes of like 15. Wow. So highly competitive. And yeah, so I didn't get in, and that was definitely my top choice because I attended the North Carolina Thespian Festival. I think 2 or 3 years during my time in high school. And I, of course, loved it. I had a phenomenal experience every time I went there to the Thespian Festival. So I was enamored with the UNCSA as a whole. And so, yeah, I definitely was a little sad when I didn't get in.
You get to come back and rub their faces in it, baby.
Well, we didn't screen at UNCSA. My mom told me that. She was like, man, it'd been pretty cool if you guys screened at UNCSA.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I emailed every single faculty member before the screening to like socialize it. So they know.
Yeah, I'm sure they see my name. They're like,
we really fucked up.
Yeah, I'm sure they've had the conversations about it.
Oh man, well that's cool. I imagine in some ways though, going to school out in LA probably made it a little easier maybe to find some initial roles since you're already right there in LA. Did you find that to be the case?
In a way, I found those 2 years, the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, they just recently closed down. Unfortunately, they had to shut down. But I found during my time, I was in a really strange spot. I had no money. I don't know how much I want to say here. When we moved out here, I had a really rough time. I was with my twin brother and our good friend from high school. We loaded our stuff up into a truck and drove across the country, came out here as soon as we graduated high school, like I think less than 2 weeks after we graduated. So those 2 years were really good for just getting my feet on solid ground and really just like stretching and flexing my acting muscles in a way and building myself a nice base of people. Some of my best friends today are from that school. But yeah, that school focused a lot on like technique and really like had like a focus on theater, which is good because it's about the craft of acting. But I left kind of, wishing that we'd focus a little bit more on film and how to find roles, how to get yourself into projects, because it's an ever evolving world. And so, I guess that'd be a little difficult for them to keep up with all the new casting websites, so I don't want to blame them or anything. But yeah, what the hell is the question?
I was just asking if you felt like, which obviously you didn't have the experience at UNCSA, so it's hard to compare, but like if you felt like being right there in LA already when you graduated made it a little easier to find some roles at least. But like you said, school's not necessarily geared towards film, so
it was more about the craft of acting. And UNCSA was a 4-year program. The academy was just like a 2-year conservatory. So UNCSA would have left me with a bachelor's, but did not do that.
More debt as well, I'm imagining.
And more debt, sure.
Out there knowing you kind of wanted to pivot to screen.
Yes, yeah. So I did lots of theater as a kid. I grew up doing plays, like I think at least 2 plays every year for from the age of like 5. At least one play a year, like every year from the age of 5, and I loved it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But yeah, I certainly was very much like in love with film at that point and wanting to pursue a career in film. And as I've gotten older and I've been doing like film work and I've been getting lots of good experience, now I'm just hungry. I'm just hungry to do a play now, man. Really.
Speaking of which,
I want to get back on there.
I mentioned to TJ, I thought this would actually make an excellent play. But TJ, you mentioned you miss a lot with the facial expressions and kind of the micro expressions in that. But I thought the dialogue is so amazing, compelling that I think it would work as a play. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's anyone who who read the script in the lead up, like that was the feedback. But I think the version that we always saw in our head and the one that made it on screen, and like props to Jesse and Nancy because like they carry this, but like the non-verb, like every little smirk or side eye, that stuff is so interesting to me, especially like when someone else is talking and the camera's on the camera is on the person that's quiet. It's like they do so much work and carry so much weight in those scenes, and you miss that from the 30th row. I think you need the camera 6 inches from their face. So yeah, on the page it certainly looks like a stage play, but I'm happy with the medium that we landed on for sure.
I actually had to, whenever I started doing lots of film work, I had to focus on bringing my expressions like down and like concentrating it, because just doing stage work all your life, like you're pretty big and broad, and so like directors just have to pull me aside and be like, hey man, you gotta relax,
yeah. And I mean, thematically it's a film of subtlety, especially for the first 50 minutes. So I think like you want the audience to start leaning in and wondering what'd that cockeye mean? Would that smirk mean? Would that, I think that's important. I think it's important to the storytelling.
Yeah, there's something very sibling about the way that they listen to each other. Like there's like real big sis, little brother energy. I think like Les, the character Jesse, is trying to impress his big sister, and his big sister's like a little skeptical of everything he says and like kind of wants to make fun of him. And all that stuff there's like a little bit of it in the dialogue, but a lot of that is just in the way they look at each other.
Yeah.
That stuff is really
the way that siblings undercut each other. There's a great face that we found in the edit, Jesse. It's in the middle of the Maya Angelou Steve story, where Jesse's kind of telling this heartfelt story about how he landed in the job that he's in. And about halfway through it, we cut to Nancy, and she just is queuing up how she's going to make fun of him. And you have to like watch him kind of finish this heartfelt story before she has her punchline.
Yeah, has the joke like ready to go.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, but we tried to like, that's at least the truest, I think, like dynamic. One of the most true dynamics about how they handle each other is all earnestness or sincerity gets like undercut immediately. Nobody wants to. I don't know. That's the house that like I grew up in, and the family we grew up in, and it's just like you're gonna get punished for vulnerability.
Sincerity, yeah.
Well, I think vulnerability, I feel like with your siblings, your immediate family is probably the scariest form, because they're the people that you fear loss of connection with most. So I think there is, whether it's with a joke or stuffing the emotions down or whatever it might be, I feel like that is
and that's
a natural tendencies that families have.
Yeah,
and that's the game we're playing, is like drift into unsafe territory and then steer back to something safe until you wander out so far that you can't come back.
Yeah, because the what we told Nancy and Jesse, and it's in the script too, like in their heads, like when they show up, when Nancy shows up to the house, like they really want to just get through the weekend, get the stuff done, like drink a bottle of whiskey, and then like say goodbye. Like they do not want to have to get into anything, but something like everything circles back to the stuff they don't want to talk about.
Well, I loved there's so many good scenes in the film, but the fireside might be my favorite, just in terms of just the whole ambiance. Is like they're slowly letting their guard down. Obviously whiskey helps. And I loved the big props to your cinematographer. And like, did you guys use complete natural lighting in that scene, just the firelight, or was there any just some reflection? Do you
It
remember?
was mostly fire. TJ and I kept a fire going for hours and hours and hours. But there was like one like moonlight and one like box that was sort of like flickering some light.
coming up from.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was basically it. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it really does. And that it's lit. Yeah, the faces are cut just well enough, obviously, to catch the nuances of Jesse and Nancy's performances, and I thought that was outstanding. And I really felt like both of the cinematography and just the way you guys wrote and acted the film, I felt like I was there with the characters, if that makes sense, like sitting there at the fireside, kind of as maybe a third wheel, but like observing these two siblings.
Yeah.
Having
That's
this
what we wanted for sure. We wanted,
conversation.
we wanted, that's part of like the camera work was intentional, but it was also necessary. We wanted you to feel like you were listening to something you shouldn't be listening to almost sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the tendency, and it's where we kind of started too for a film like this, is just to go shaky cam with a indie of our budget. But the comp that we gave our cinematographer is a movie called Columbus. Have you ever seen that, Richard?
I've not.
It's Kogonada. It's a really good movie. Set in Indiana, where the architecture's Columbus, Indiana, where the architecture is like really beautiful. But the camera, I don't even think they have a single camera move in that movie.
I think there's one like, tracking shot that I remember, but it's mostly
but
to walk along the fence.
Right. Yeah, but also like a dialogue driven film, and like there's just such magic and it's not going to be right for everybody. Like I would totally understand an audience member that kind of like recoils, but for somebody that's into that.
Is that with John Cho? I'm looking it up now on IMDb.
But it does. There's something about the camera not moving, I think, that invites you in a way that the shaky cam doesn't.
Who's the main actress in that?
John Cho.
No, it's Haley. The actress. Haley.
Sorry,
Richard.
She's been going crazy lately. That was the first thing I'd seen her in because you guys suggested to watch it, but she's been popping lately. I just watched the season premiere of the new season of Last of Us last night. And there she is, man. Yeah, man. She's killing it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I need to catch up with that. My wife and I watched the first season. We're preparing ourselves for the second.
That Columbus, that one sits in like two shots for. I wish we had to do something.
Yeah, we're cowards for sure.
Oh man, but I do love the stillness, the way you guys worked with stillness. I especially with dialogue heavy film, I think that works really well, like you said. And when you do have a movement, it makes it stand out more. I can't help but think of when Nancy's character is standing at the deck and just slow zoom in, that, and that almost felt a little bit. They gave me a little bit of like horror film vibes too, of like what's going to happen right now. So it's like ominous of like what's going to happen in this house.
I'm glad you picked up on it, man, because it's the exact conversation we had that for the first 5 minutes. Because I don't think we get our first line of dialogue until like into minute 4. So it's like we liked this idea of what movie am I watching? Is it a horror film? Is it a horror film? And it kind of arc wise, it kind of is.
Yeah,
you could say,
for a viewer, like it would feel like it is a scary movie.
It's a horror movie for people that don't want to talk about their emotions. It's like worst case scenario.
That's fair. Speaking of emotions, Jesse, kind of pivoting to you for a moment. And I know this may be too personal, so you feel free to share or not share, but as an actor, what did you draw on to kind of get a hold of your character in this film, like, and his emotional state or states, to be more precise?
Man, that's a hard one. Man, it changes from project to project because obviously every script brings out different things in you. Man, there's definitely some like sensitive personal things that I think about almost every time I'm going into something that's that requires a lot for me, like emotionally. But I won't get into all that. Yeah, but certainly, I got a family too. I know what it's like to have an estranged sibling. I have been lucky in my life thus far that I do not know what it's like to have a deceased parent. Both my mother and father are still with me. And so in a way, it almost felt not inappropriate because I knew I was capable of it. But in a way, I feel like there was this tiny disconnect that I can imagine, of course. I can go there in my imagination. But like you guys, this is about the loss of a parent. And I simply have not lost my parents yet. So I was a little nervous going into it that there might be some layer that I'm not able to access to bring this character to life. But I felt like I found it. And certainly did something.
Yeah,
It's something about being in North Carolina. I don't know what it is. This is a um, little random story, but I just went back last October to North Carolina for my twin brother's wedding, and I was the best man. God damn it! I tried to write my best man speech for like 2 months, could not do it. I thought I had like an okay speech. I show up to my little brother, and I'm like, like, what do you think? And he's like, Jesse, this is ass.
Should have called up TG and Jed.
Yeah, literally. I mean,
just a small fee. That's all.
But I couldn't write it until like the night before, and then like it's like 1 a.m. the night before my brother's wedding, and it just pours out of me. So something about being in North Carolina and being around family. I had just seen my family before shooting Battersea.
Yeah,
I was able to be there for Thanksgiving. So being able to be so close with them and hug and speak with them before doing something like this, I felt was valuable.
And I will say, as someone who, I've lost 2 parents now, and one was actually to cancer, and another, there was like a long-term caregiving situation. That was more my sister's story of her taking care of my dad. Your monologue scene there, like after you respond to the big secret that your sister reveals, I can say that you really did find that, and that I can't speak for my sister, but I think I saw her crying out of the side of, if I kind of looked to the side to see how she was responding. And obviously with the writing, directing, cinematography, the whole package there. And you mentioned that Nancy was there, for you to react off of as well in that scene. All that together, I think you all collectively just really nailed that. And as someone who's gone through similar experiences, that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suspect audiences other places will feel the same.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, we mentioned this in the Q&A, but it's worth repeating 100 times. Jesse, we did like a wide shot of that, and then we did one with just him, like his coverage, and that's it.
It was 2 takes. Two takes.
He was so locked in, and TJ and I that was the thing we were most worried about, because it's complicated, because we didn't want it to be like, we wanted to, we were like, are there a few moments in here that he can find some levity, or like kind of create that roller coaster of like it's like 8 minutes long or something.
Yeah.
So,
can't be one note the whole time.
Yeah. So we're just nervous that like, is this like a too tall of an ask to like pull this off? I mean, he did it, and we were in the next room, and like, we just looked at each other and we're like, there's no point doing that again.
And I'll tell you what, when we got into the edit, that's always when you regret those decisions, I think. And we didn't. It's just like, in fact, we talk about Nancy sitting in that scene. Like, Nancy actually had like a line or two, and we ended up cutting them because like we just wanted to stay on him. He was so good, man. And Jesse and I were talking about this the other day. Just that, Rich, I lost my mom like 8 years ago now to kidney cancer, and just like so appreciative of Jesse like bringing part of that experience to life in a way that felt true to my experience. Because I could never do it. The best I can do is put it on a piece of paper, and like Jad and I said, like we're closed off. We repress it, so it's like it was an important experience when we shot it. Like, it was really important to me, and every time I watch it, like that scene, it will always mean a lot to me that he nailed it, and brought this thing to life. So
thank you, bud.
I can't help but think of acting in many ways, especially with material like that, is kind of, even if you haven't lived it yourself, it's almost like a form of naked empathy. It's like you're this open nerve trying to empathize with what someone else is going through, and you're putting it out there for the whole world to see on a big screen sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny.
So it's got to be scary.
We were trying to think of a reason to maybe do another take, or like we couldn't think of one, and that's it comes from having a good relationship with our actors. But Nancy came up to us at while we were like considering, again, just to have the coverage, and she's like, don't make him do that again. Like, you're right. Yeah, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Jesse, did you need some time to recover after that scene? Like after going there for?
Man, I blacked out. I don't know. I don't really remember much after that, to be honest with you. What did we do after that? It was definitely the last thing of the day.
We didn't. That was a wrap. It was a wrap after.
I just went to bed.
These sandwiches.
Yeah. Back to the B&B and sleep for like 12 hours.
It's funny too to think about you saying that, Jesse, about like not remembering that experience. because it being so intense. But
I
that's
remember
exactly,
everything leading up to it.
yeah. But that it's interesting because that's exactly how it would be for the character in that moment. Like I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. And same thing in the argument too. Like, you know, he's been wanting to say this forever and probably never thought he would ever get the chance. And then, you know, suddenly he's saying it. So I just think it plays. I think like where your head is in that moment is like exactly where it is.
I'll just say one more thing about that monologue. And this I think it happened kind of organically. Everybody knew that we were setting up for this really important shot, this really vulnerable scene. And I mean, we had like our gaffer and our grip, they like came to the monitor, you know, like they could have been outside smoking a cigarette or whatever. It was the last shot of the day, you know. So it's just like it had such energy around it. I don't know. It was just really special.
Yeah, it felt like when I peeked my head in at the end afterwards, it felt like a holy. I felt like holy ground in a way. Everyone was just sort of like. I asked Mike because our poor boom guy had to stand there, you know, like
yeah. His arms are sore after a while
for like 15 minutes.
He always says that that's the scene he's most proud of because he just a feat of strength.
But yeah, you like peek your head in and like no one wants to say anything. No one wants to disturb the air in the room.
Yeah. And the terrifying part of that is that's what you felt in that moment, but it's like pulling it up 4 months later in Da Vinci, it's like, oh God, please, I hope that translated to screen.
Make like 5 copies. Did you all use digital cameras? Like make 5 copies just to don't want to lose any copies, right?
We got a lot of
Another thing about the monologue. I kind of like, and you talk about being holy. I didn't show them the monologue before. Like they didn't know, like they hadn't seen me do it at all. They didn't even know if I had it memorized. Like they trusted me, and I'm glad that they did, because they of course could have like been like, no fucker, like do it, like show us really quick so we know what we're gonna get. But I just asked them like, hey, like I'll do it if you really want to, if you allow me. Just like let's keep working on other stuff. Let's leave that alone. But like we you can give me notes after, but let me show you what I have for the first time, like on camera.
Yeah, I think Jesse, you're talking about finding layers. I think the one thing that we talked about was that bit of levity, which it just adds to what Jad was talking about earlier about like you kind of wade in and can't get out. And that's one of the things I think is so powerful about it is like he's now on this path where he's going to say the whole thing, doesn't necessarily even want to, but like can't stop, you know?
Yeah, you can feel it in his posture too, that like he can't believe that he's going to keep going, you know?
And then
Well, was that, I'm curious, Jesse, if that was like when you were reading through the script, now I don't know how that works with backstage. You just get like, is it like a Cliff Notes version of a script? Do you read an entire script? And was that a scene that you're like, whoa, this is going to make me grow as an actor if I do this?
This one. That'll be a psychotic thing to think. Ooh, this will make me grow as an actor. No, I don't think I've ever had that thought. No, I just got the one scene from near the beginning of the film, whenever I'm making her coffee, and I'm talking about this girl I used to date and how I could stick up my nose in a bag of beans and guess the weather in Peru. I just had that scene, and then I can't remember if we did I think we did a callback with Nancy. Mm-hmm. Just to see like the relationship there, and that was it. And then I got the full script, but I knew just from that one scene that it was strong. These guys had a story to tell. But yeah, when I read that script, I was a little excited because obviously it's a monster of a piece, and nervous. I mean, I'd be insane if I didn't get a little nervous reading that monologue for the first time and just being like, holy fuck, like these guys have trusted me to enough to give me this piece of their heart, man. As corny as it sounds, they need somebody to do this for them, to bring this to life, and that's one of the best feelings in the world, when I'm able to successfully do that, when I'm able to bring words to life for people and do it in a way that feels real and true and genuine and heartfelt. So yeah, I was definitely a little excitedly nervous when I read it for the first time. Definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, it was really important to us. Like, we weren't looking for hired guns, like we spent so much of our lives working on this thing. Like we wanted, we started with the sides, but we were pretty quick to send the script out because I wanted people that loved it, and understood it. And also, like, I mean, the thing about Nancy and Jesse is, like, on top of being really good actors, they're cinephiles, you know? So, like,
Mhm.
we just really wanted people that got it and saw the potential in it. So that was important to us that they connected, you know?
Speaking of Nancy, I wanted to ask, and all three of you feel free to share, but what was your experiences like working with Nancy through the film, and just kind of your thoughts on her performance? I don't want to leave her out, even though she's not here in the
I was
room.
thinking that to myself.
Obviously,
I want to shout out Nancy.
That's what happens when you don't show up to the pod.
Yeah,
You know? No love.
But my reaction was when I saw her audition tape, I didn't even want to consider anyone else. She was so clearly, in my mind, like, she had the look. She just like her. I forget what sides we gave her. I think it was something small. It wasn't even that big, but it just was like, God, it just was dead on.
Well, it was cold cuts.
Something from the fire. Yeah.
Something like a little. It's got like 10 layers to it, and we only gave her 2 pages, so she wouldn't have the cuts for the 10 layers, but she still like found them. You know, I mean, she's brilliant.
It was nuanced. It was nuanced in a way that seems rare for a lot of those, like, the tapes we were seeing. It just was really layered and interesting. And I mean, we were talking about Jesse's big monologue and being nervous about that. I'd say the second thing we were most nervous about was Nancy's stuff on the deck. You know, her big
revealing the secret.
Because that can get a little. It's a lot of exposition in that moment, and I don't know. I think she's so good there. It's just like when you get the sandwich of like Nancy on the deck, Jesse in the doorway, and then Jesse at the end. Those three like big pieces of. I mean, they're all monologues. It's just like the last 20 minutes of the movie are just like, I don't know, man. But they still speak to me. You know, they still make me super excited. Like when we get to that point in the movie.
We should be sick of it, and I'm not sick of it. You know? The only other thing I'll say, I mean, besides just being a brilliant performer, just also a phenomenal person. You know, we were working really long days. Nancy's going up to like the second boom and asking if she can like get him a coffee. So just like, you know, really embraced the indie spirit and like took care of everybody. Because it was a hard 13 days. I mean, it was doing therapy on me and Jad, you know, in between shooting really complex scenes, emotional scenes.
She was a very generous actor too. We'd be getting my coverage, and you know, she wouldn't even need to be there. Like they could just like, you know, give me like, you know, a water bottle to look at for my eyeline. But she was generous enough to be there and you know, give me, you know, feedback and you know, react to my lines and everything. So
I think that's why those conversations work so well. Is you guys are both
there. Yeah,
you did that for each other, and you were there for every moment of it, and it was. I think it comes through. Those conversations feel real. Oh, what else was I had something else about Nancy I was going to say, but I can't remember. Oh, I was going to say Nancy and Jesse. Yeah, just like because it was such a condensed shoot, and because this was our first feature.
It was 2 weeks, is that right?
Around it was like 13 and a half,
days.
Like that. And you know, there were just entire days spent on. You know, there were like 2 days spent on the fire, so like you're just sort of always under the gun. But I just like the little ways Nancy and Jesse would like help us. Like there are moments when like because every take is so precious, like just like adjusting their blocking in certain ways because they know where the camera is, or like those things that would like kill a shot. Just all those little, I don't know. They were such pros that they like were able to iron out some of the wrinkles in the moment, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it would have
been
possible otherwise.
This was, correct me if I'm wrong for the two of you, but this was the first film either of you had made, period, or had you made some that just didn't get published yet? This was the very first. Wow.
It was our first stab at anything. I mean, it's really, everyone we talked to in the lead up was just like, don't you want to do like a short first? Or like,
proof of concept.
Like, I think you should maybe think about doing a short.
No, you should really think about doing a short.
So I'm curious how you all prepared for the kind of the onset direction portion of it. Did you watch like a lot of documentaries about filmmakers? Did you get to shadow some people? Like, did you take some classes? Like, how did you prep, or you just kind of felt it out of like, I think this is how this should?
Well, we had a lot of help. So the co-director, John, he went to film school, has made some shorts. So he was able, from a technical perspective and a blocking perspective, to help weigh in on that sort of stuff. And then just like a lot of preparation. I mean, we essentially blocked large swaths of the movie. And, you know, the blocking is not super complex. It's not complex. It's mostly two people talking. But we had it pretty well blocked ahead of time. We went to all of the spaces, kind of figured out where we wanted the camera. Our DP was there, kind of setting up the frame to see what he liked. So yeah, we kind of had to be prepared going into it because we knew we just didn't have a lot of time. So then, you know, usually we prep a scene, get the actors actually in there walking around, make any micro adjustments, and then we were off.
Yeah, it helped too that our DP, it was his house, so we just had unlimited access to the location in the months and weeks leading up to it. So we really kind of had it mapped out as much as we possibly could. And we were meeting with the actors once or twice a week in the weeks leading up to rehearse and run through lines and talk about motivations and all that stuff and try to get that as dialed as possible. So when we showed up, we felt like we had a pretty clear game plan. Like there weren't a lot of I don't like audibles called. There are a few, but not that many.
Yeah, and I think I asked you all this question, I think, in the Q&A, but speaking of, this isn't necessarily in the terms of audibles, but just thinking of the capturing of the dialogue, I was amazed to find out that you guys only did one word of ADR post that so huge props to your sound team. Yeah, I think you mentioned, TJ, you had I think the scene that really grabbed my attention was there was a scene in the kitchen where Jesse, I believe it was your character, was turned away from the camera, like towards the wall, and yet it sounded like the mic was right there. And I was like, there's no mic. Like, where's the mic? Is this ADR? And you said maybe that it was a hidden mic.
We had, that scene we had a couple plants, but there's what you don't see is Mike Stipe, our sound guy, is also folded up like a pretzel. He's also like, I don't know, 6'3". He's folded up like a pretzel on the kitchen counter to like an inch out of frame, which was always a story. I mean, he's on the roof. He climbs a tree before anyone can tell him no. Like, that guy cares about his craft, and that's why it's so good. Like, he takes it very, very seriously, and he wants it to reflect his work ethic and his talents.
And he largely worked alone. I mean, there were a few days where he had a boom operator, but 75% of the time it was him with the pack on and the boom mic doing everything himself.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it was, again, just like
huge shout out to him.
Yeah.
A total blessed, like, I don't know how we got these guys to help us, but like, we found the exact right people.
Well, I'm guessing similar to Jesse, maybe they read the script and saw the vision. They're like, I want to be part of this. This sounds awesome.
That's what we tell.
Well, I had, and this is a semi-spoiler so I've saved it for kind of the very end. I had a question that I didn't get a chance to ask in the Q&A, and I was curious. This is how it resonated with me, and I'm curious if this was the intent. I remember, I think it's, in the monologue with Jesse, he is talking about after his character, after the mother passed away, having to help carry her body through the house, like down the hall, down the stairs, out the door. And I assume this was intentional, but I couldn't help but notice at the end with the siblings, and you foreshadowed it too, which was awesome, with the couch, the two of them carrying it together. The sister, Lou, saying, I'm going to help. I'll help. Can I help? And the two of them carrying it together down the stairs. She's like, okay, I'm here for you now. That's how it hit me. It felt very intentional. So I was just curious if I read that correctly, because that was beautiful.
You're beautiful, man. Yeah. It's whenever anybody asks me like my favorite shot, it's that shot, the dolly shot in the hallway. I mean, it's not like the sexiest shot, but and then you sit in the hallway for like a few extra seconds after they clear frame. So yeah, very intentional. I mean, it's even in the script. We even had some notes in the script that, you know, this is a direct callback.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's so exciting when people pick up on that.
Yeah, I thought that was very beautiful part of the, I guess, the denouement of the film. Yeah, I love that.
And props to our composer Chris Miller, who that's like when you get the full song too. You've kind of been getting it in like little pieces and variations of the theme, and then you finally get the full thing. We barely use any music. There's just like a few spots. So like, if visually, like the music, it's all like kind of coalescing at that moment. Yeah, it's really it's a cool moment for sure. And then they sit back down and have another conversation.
Yeah, true. But enjoyed that as well. And I'm guessing that was maybe one of the scenes where the sound guy was up in the tree.
That was it.
That was the one.
That was it.
Do you want to talk about that scene? The last scene, sitting outside by the tree. Do you remember trauma of that?
Was that me or Jesse?
That was
Oh, yeah.
Jesse.
Oh, that was for me. Okay.
It was traumatic for Mike too, poor guy.
Yeah, it's funny. On paper, you would think the monologue would be like the most difficult piece. Something about that last one, I struggled a little bit. Say that again.
You don't remember what it was? It was something. It was.
It was a
the
rooster.
You remember?
Oh, the rooster. Yeah, of course.
We had this.
They're fucking up every
We
scene.
had this maniac rooster that was at the neighbor's house. I mean, Jesse's got, again, like, is so prepped, so ready to go. And this fucking rooster, he'll say, like, every time, like, we'll be 7 seconds in, it starts going off. Okay, we'll get 25 seconds in, it starts going off. So it's just like impossible to get a clean take. Poor Jesse's trying to muscle through it. Our sound guy's freaking out. He's like, none of it, we're not going to be able to use any of this. We got one of our PAs, we gave him a rake, and he's chasing the rooster around the property, trying to get it as far away from Jesse as possible. So it's just like,
Let's cut that.
it's kind of like a nightmare. It's a nightmare scenario. Finally, I mean, I think to Charles's credit, he took his duties very seriously. I mean, he finally just chased this rooster so far away that you couldn't really pick it up. He might have killed it. He might have killed that rooster.
We're eating chicken tonight.
But yeah, that was maybe the hardest scene to cut together because it was.
Yeah.
Because there were also berries like dropping from the tree or something. So
yeah. There were birds. There were birds in the tree that were like knocking berries down. So you have these plops everywhere. And Mike was right. He's like, this is going to be. I think finally by the time we got all of our coverage, he was okay with it. But the two shots, yeah, it was scary starting to assemble that scene and wondering if we had it. But it ended up being beautiful.
Yeah, no,
but I
agree. It turned
poor
out
Jesse, like really had to muscle through it for sure.
Well, what are your all's hopes and dreams for this film going forward? What kind of life would you love to see it have?
I mean, I'd love for it to live forever.
Yeah, we're gonna shoot it into space, is what.
Oh yeah, there you go. Put it on a gold record. The next gold record. Right?
I mean, we're like, I don't know, in the middle of the third quarter of the festival run, so we still have like we have like this crazy sprint coming up. We've got like 4 in 8 days or something. So yeah, I think we'll probably hit a few more in the fall, and then we'll try to find somebody who wants to put it on their platform, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, like all phases of making this film, we're kind of learning it as we go. The great thing about the festival circuit has been just meeting a lot of filmmakers that know a lot more than we do. And we've connected with some like really great people that have connections that like the film. So, I think, we're doing the festival run has far exceeded our lofty ambitions. So, ride the wave. We've been winning some awards, put those in our back pocket, and then hopefully use it as fodder to have distribution conversations. I mean, I'd love for it to, again, ambitious, but I'd love for it to have a little theatrical run, however small.
Yeah, if that makes it, I sincerely hope Aperture picks it up. They do a good job with, like, here in town with catching independent art house. I mean, that's why they exist, independent art house cinema. And so if you get a limited release, I hope it makes it back here to Winston, and obviously streaming at some point. I mean, I'd love to be able to come back and revisit this film in the future too. And I'm planning to watch it with my wife, who's also on the podcast. So we're going to watch it virtually. She didn't get a chance to see it in person with me, so we're going to try to catch it this next week.
What a segue! What a pro!
Yeah, but April. Well, I guess this could be a clip. April 21st to 27th, virtually through riverrun.com. And is that a common thing? I'm not super familiar with the festival circuit, like having virtual options after the physical.
Yeah,
festival.
I think a lot of these fests did a ton of work to stand up these platforms during COVID, and they realized what a boon it was.
Mm-hmm.
So they just have kind of kept them as a hybrid component. So we're in a, it's fairly common. We're in a couple more that are going to be doing it as well. So yeah, it's a cool offering, and I think a lot of them get a lot of traffic. Kind of excited to see what happens on Letterboxd after it's available to stream for a bit.
So what would be the best place for listeners to keep track of that? Would it be the Instagram for the film, like Battersea Film? I know you also have some info on it. tjsandella.com. There's a whole page on this film as well.
Yeah, they can go batterseafilm.com and then Battersea Film on Instagram for sure.
And where can our listeners follow you all? I know we've connected on Instagram, so we'll definitely tag you all in our post, but there are other places you guys like to live in the social media world?
That's it for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, well, that's our main presence too.
I
find it's a great place to...
Instagram back on my phone. So
Yeah, I know. I have to
I
delete
was
it
off for you
occasionally
in here.
because it just doom scrolling.
Yeah, I'd love to keep it off my phone, but I'm just not in the business where I
Oh, I
can.
know.
Many
It's hard.
Yeah,
big
leave it alone.
fans
It's
to
hard.
respond to.
Yeah, so many. Yeah, I've tried to keep it off my phone before, and then like I'll log back in like after a week or so, and just be like, "Fuck, I missed that." Like,
It is really hard. Well, TJ, Jad, Jesse, thank you so much for joining me and our listeners here for the Nerd Hat podcast. Just really enjoyed talking to you all about this film. Enjoyed seeing it. Yeah, just highly recommend it, listeners. If you have any chance to catch up with it, please do. It's an excellent film. So thank you guys for coming to talk to us.
Thanks for having
Richard.
us,
This was
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
thank you.
Absolutely.